LaNita,
Hey,
how are you, sunshine?
I'm wonderful, and yourself?
I'm excellent. Welcome to Thinking Kingdom Media,
Yes.
where we have real conversations with real people. We share real music. And I thank you for being here. I'm super glad and excited to have you on the platform. How's life been treating you?
Life's been good, very busy, but life's good, and I'm really, really excited to be here. I've been waiting on this opportunity myself, so thank you.
Yes. And I thank you for coming. You know, I've known you through my very best friend, who is your husband. And I want you to understand that he's not my friend. He's really my brother.
Absolutely, I know that.
I want you to understand that.
Yeah.
In so many ways, he's helped me through life that I haven't even communicated with him about, right? And I know this version of him, which you've groomed. I think as black men, we don't give our wives enough props, and I just want to just say that I'm very proud of this version of my brother. And I just want to just give you your flowers.
Thank you.
Let's just go ahead and give it up for you.
Shout out to all the wives out there.
Right? And it's very rare that a female shows up on my platform. So thank you for that too. Give it up for yourself for that. You know what I'm saying? But you are here because you are a speaker, you are a business owner, you are a mother, you are a wife, and you wear a lot of hats, right?
I
and
do.
you do a lot of things. Do you ever feel uncomfortable with wearing all of those hats? And if you do, tell me how you deal with that uncomfortability, because I know a lot of that is connected to your profession. So, but how do you ever get uncomfortable wearing all these hats and doing all these things you do?
Absolutely. Yeah, I do wear a whole lot of hats. Sometimes it does get very uncomfortable. I can get really tired. I always have to remember like my purpose, like why am I doing these things? And I think that's what helps keep me motivated. Also remembering to take time for myself. I'm on this new thing where I'm just saying no to things that I really don't have to be a part of, and being okay with that. And that's just more so for my mental health and just doing a lot of self-care. It's very uncomfortable wearing a lot of hats, but I think that looking at the benefits and the service that I am providing others, and looking at my kids when they're inspired by the things that I do out in the community, that really does help me through those times when I do feel kind of burnt out.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of fulfillment that comes back to you when you're providing service. You're a mental health person, right? But I know there's a lot of hats even in that, right? So how do what do I call you professionally?
LaNita. No, I'm a licensed professional counselor. So
okay,
a LPC is what they call it here in South Carolina.
Okay, and so before, off camera, I said I wanted you to approach this as an opportunity to help somebody that's out there looking right at this, and I may be somebody that needs your service, but I don't know how to identify that you are the right person for me.
Absolutely.
Right? How do I do that if I'm a person watching this right now? How do I know that I need LaNita to help me?
Oh, that is a tough question.
Okay.
And so I might switch it a little bit.
All right,
okay,
good.
with my response.
That's cool.
Okay.
That's cool.
So if we look at the history of our community when it comes to mental health, we really don't have, or we haven't really had the power to choose which doctors we want to go see, which hospitals we want to go to because we have all these different barriers and things like that. I think the important thing about mental health is that you do have that opportunity to pick someone who's good for you. And there's different ways of doing that. I always encourage anybody who calls me and says that they probably are interested in seeing me to ask me questions, look me up, Google me, ask certain questions to that therapist to make sure that they are a good fit. If you're coming to see me, more than likely you have some kind of trauma. I work really, really heavy in trauma. I work heavy in any kind of marginalized communities that we have here in South Carolina. If you're coming to see me, you definitely more than likely have some kind of connect to hip hop because I do use hip hop in my therapeutic settings.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's the biggest thing. But I just wanted to kind of make that kind of broad. I wanted this to be the opportunity to let people know that you don't have to just go to someone because they're available. Really make sure that they fit with you. And we owe it to ourselves for not really having that opportunity in our history to really put our mental health first because it really is connected to your physical health when it comes to headaches, obesity, high blood pressure. Mental health is really a part of those things. So at least having the power to choose where you want to get your care is very important.
Yeah, even in just like these applications that they have now, because I know that, when my wife and I went through counseling, we went through an application and they fit us with a therapist and we never seen them. It was all online. And so, and it was COVID had just broken out. So a big part of that was that too.
Right.
But even with the video call thing, but it just got to a place where we were just glad to be seeing someone.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so you said, just making sure that they're the right fit for you. I guess as a consumer, you go through maybe an interview process.
Yeah.
Or maybe you go through some free counseling.
You can. Consultations.
Just to figure it out.
Yeah.
When you get to a place when, you can hear or you can feel that the customer's like, I don't know whether you're the person for, for me.
Right.
Tell me about a time where that happened, or what's that like for you? Like,
that
when
has
you get
happened.
rejected, right?
Yeah. So I say I got fired. That's what I say.
Okay,
I got fired.
right.
Or if they don't hire me, then I say, yeah, they didn't hire me. But the thing is, no therapist should, can't talk. No therapist should take that personally because it's not about the therapist. It's about your client and your patient, and you want them to get the best care, whether it's with you or somebody else. So I don't take it personally. If they feel like I'm not the right fit, absolutely. I'm so happy you advocated for yourself. Would you like a referral? Yes? Okay, here you go. Would you like a referral? No? Okay, well, you can always check online for other people. I never take it serious and personal. I do take it serious. I don't take it personal.
Still take it personal. Right. I think it's just super important to just have that out there because I think that it's a culture, behind it. And I know that there's people out here working and doing their thing. And for me, it was just like, well, I mean, sir, have you ever been through a separation? Have you ever been divorced?
Okay.
Have you ever been traumatized or experienced infidelity in your marriage to even be talking to me about it? Or are you still married? Because, I don't know. It's maybe because you're not married anymore, you're divorced, you probably can't help me and my wife. You know what I mean? I'm just speaking from a consumer standpoint.
Okay.
Do you think that mindset is a valid way to think for a consumer in the therapy world? Or should we be open to just getting help how we can? Based on your certifications and your education and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do we need to account your personal life with considering you for providing service?
So I'm going to answer it this way.
All right, go ahead.
Your therapist is not there to have walked in the same shoes that you walked in. That's what makes us different from talking to your homegirl or your homeboy or your friend that's been married or your friend that's divorced. We do have a set of training skills to help you through the way that you're processing your situation. Now, but with that, if you really feel like you can't connect to your therapist because they have self-disclosed that they aren't married or they never been through a separation, and you really can't just feel or vibe with them, then okay, that's fine. That's another thing. But you're not always going to have a therapist that has walked in your shoes. And that doesn't take away from them being able to help you. They're not there to say, I know how you feel because I was divorced too. Then it becomes their therapy, right? And then now they need to figure out what they're going to do with their situation. It's more so of, okay, I hear what you have going on. This is what we can do. This is how I can get you to look at it. This is going to open up your perspective to what's going on. Communication skills, if we're still talking about marriage, communication skills, love languages, those things, you don't have to be in that situation to be able to guide someone. My business partner always says, we're just the passenger in the car. We're going to get out the car. So you're driving it. It's your situation. And even if
you have to do the work,
My counseling sessions are only 50 minutes. After 50 minutes, you're going to have to do the work outside of there, okay? But even if you and I were to go through the same situation and I was your therapist, it still wouldn't be the same because we're all different. Our brains are all different. We're all made up of different experiences that are that affect us biologically and socially. Like it just wouldn't even make sense anyway. So you go to a therapist because you want an outside, non-biased, non-judgment perspective.
Yeah.
And it's just safer that way. But again, if you feel like you can't vibe with them because they may not understand certain things, that's fine. And we definitely see that when it comes to race. So it just depends. If you're comfortable, keep going. But I just don't want people to expect that, okay, I need to go to a therapist that looks like me, that came from the same places that I came from, that walked the same shoes that I walk, because that can shade the understanding. That can shade the path that you should be on to help you through your situation.
All right. What do you think sparked you to start going down this road and to wanting to serve in this capacity? Was it an event? Was it something that?
Yeah.
What do you think is your inspiration behind this?
It had to be when I was an undergrad, and I started having panic attacks, and my sister thought she was having a heart attack, and I couldn't figure out what was going on with me. It was happening like every day. So someone told me I should seek therapy, and it was the best thing for me. Felt like magic, and I thought it was pretty dope. So I always wanted to jump into mental health to be able to help people.
What did you find in that therapy session about yourself?
That I'm anxious. That I'm real anxious all the time. Okay. My mind thinks fast. I always have ideas, which could be good or bad. So far, they worked out for me. My husband might say something different. But I'm a person that moves all the time, and my mind is always going. And it's hard when you can't shut it off. It becomes kind of harmful when you can't shut it off, when you're having racing thoughts at night, or as soon as you wake up in the morning, when you start feeling overwhelmed over some things that I felt like were small. I can't speak for everybody else. So I realized that I need to just, sometimes just be still and know.
And know, mm-hmm. Yeah. Because
yeah.
I think for me, I'm just wondering if you have to, because even in the world that I work in, you have to kind of niche down, right? Mm-hmm. Like, what's your thing that mm-hmm. you do? Mm-hmm. What would you say is your niche or your niche or in this arena for you?
Yeah. So my niche, I feel like, and the reason why I say I feel like, because sometimes I feel that it changes, and I don't know. I know that it's bigger than me when it changes. Yeah. But my niche has been working with working women who have had some kind of trauma, and they're being affected through depression, grief, and anxiety. So I use a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy in my sessions. Sometimes a little Adlerian, but I'm a behavioralist. So I will always look at why you have this behavior, where is it coming from, what are your thoughts and emotions about it, and how can we adjust it? How can we use other healthier behaviors to get rid of some of those negative behaviors or some of those behaviors that are affecting you from living a fulfilling life?
Yeah, you said you use hip hop.
I do.
And I think that's incredibly interesting that you say that and that
Yes.
you're even doing that,
Yeah.
right? And then just outwardly like saying that, like you glad about it.
I'm proud. I am proud to use hip hop in mental health.
So talk to me about your process if
Yeah.
you can, so you
Okay.
could just how you do that? How are
Yeah.
you doing that?
So what I'm realizing is that, and I know this goes back in history in our community,
Yeah.
Black and African American communities. What I'm realizing is that we don't go to hospitals, we don't go to the doctor. I know why, and we don't really seek mental health. So one way that I notice that I'm bringing in Black men, and we celebrate Black men every time they walk through our doors because we know that that's rare and that's hard for Black men due to trauma, for them to come in the doors. But what I'm realizing is when they come in my office and they see all my hip hop stuff and Biggie everywhere, they're more comfortable. I guess that goes back to what you were saying about being able to relate to them.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, okay, well, this therapist knows a little bit about hip hop.
Right.
And then I used to start off by just using certain quotes and asking them how they feel about certain quotes from like a certain song or something like that.
Right.
Now that I'm getting more known, now they come in with their own music or, and they tell me what kind of feelings or emotions they have from their music. And usually it's from an experience because most of the time that's what hip hop is from an experience. And then we're able to talk about that experience. So what I'm noticing is easier for people to use hip hop as a way to share their trauma, and then that helps me dig into what's going on in their mind, why they're doing certain things, and then it's easier for them to want to try certain therapeutic interventions that way.
Right. The training and the education that you've been through, how, and I know you can't give me that in a nutshell sentence or paragraph right now, but like my wife says to me, you talk through things so well, you should go and pursue being, a mental health specialist or a therapist or something like that, right? Yes. And I'm like, probably not.
You halfway there,
right? I'm like, probably not. But what do you think? The service and the expertise that you have, what do you think is the is different about that than my friend or my homeboy? What does your education do for your conversation and the value that you can bring for people that my friends or my mother or what does it bring that they can't bring?
Yeah. And so that goes back to what I was saying earlier too. Like one of the big differences is I don't know you, right? Your therapist doesn't know you. So they can't judge you off of a certain aspect of your life. We're trained to be non-judgmental, meaning, this was in an article one time, maybe I shouldn't have said it, but I did say something as corny as you can pick your nose and I'm not going to judge you for that. So, but it really does go on those lines. Like I can't really judge you for the things you've done. Also, I'm legally and ethically supposed to hold secrets as long as there's some speculations there, but most secrets I can hold. So can your friends hold those secrets? How you know they're not gonna go tell their wife,
right?
Or they homegirl, right? And then the other thing is, it's not about you talking about a situation. It's really understanding how it's affecting your health, and also understanding where it's coming from in your brain. Again, I'm a behavioralist. I'm really big on the brain. So if you're coming to me telling me that you had some trauma because you saw something happen to somebody, I'm going to tell you, and you're always in like fight or flight mode, like you're always ready to, throw bows or something like that. I'm going to tell you that that's your brain. It's your amygdala in your brain telling you that you're always in danger.
Right.
And so there's things that we can do to calm your amygdala. Now, if your homeboy or homegirl can do that, kudos. But I don't know if it's a healthcare. It's not just telling your friend what's going on.
Got you. So anywhere from I'm super hyper passive aggressive, I need medicine, to trauma, I've been cheated on by my husband or my wife, your expertise, you're able to service me in those areas.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, and we have, and I don't know.
There's no area that you aren't, that you would, you know how doctors do.
Yeah.
they refer you out because
Yes.
it's like
Yes.
right.
Yeah. So there are areas. So there are certain mental health diagnoses that I don't feel professionally experienced to handle.
What does
So
that look like? I gotta come through smacking
yeah.
my head, or I gotta come through. What? If,
Now, so what happens is when you like if you were to come to me, I would do a comprehensive assessment to see what the diagnosis is going to be. And sometimes I can't tell right away. So maybe like after a week or so, I'm like, oh, this is something that I'm not going to be able to handle. It's outside of my scope of practice. Then I will talk to you about that and let you know why. And this is what I found. And then I will refer you out. Now, that doesn't mean like I'm not going to see you anymore. I would like to continue seeing that person until they get comfortable with the other person.
right.
Because I already established care. Now, sometimes people call right ahead and they let me know like they have this and this is what they want to be seen for. And I let them know like we don't have anybody here that's qualified to handle that. And then I can just refer them out that way too. But again, it's not about me. So I have to make sure that they know it's definitely about getting you the proper care.
Right. Earlier, you said that the people of our community don't go to the doctor, and we know why. I have my assessment of that, but
Okay.
what I would like to know, hear your perspective on why we don't go to the doctor.
Oh man, how much time you got?
I got time. we got time.
All right. So I'm gonna try to say in a nutshell, just
Don't even nutshell
Okay.
it because we
All right.
don't need nutshells anymore. This
Okay.
is why we still not going.
right. Okay. I
This-
mean, I was gonna give you some good stuff, but okay. All right. So throughout history,
Right.
and it's gonna have to start back to when we were enslaved individuals
Okay.
on the plantation.
Let's
all
just
right.
go there.
Yes. Yeah. There were experiments done on the enslaved Africans, which caused damage. There was experiments that were done where there wasn't any medication used, where there are stereotypes that Black and African Americans don't feel pain or they exaggerate their symptoms.
And you're not talking about like Willie Lynch.
I'm going way past Willie Lynch. We're going from like when we first came off slave ship.
Okay.
Okay. So there's been experiments and they used the enslaved individual, Black and African Americans enslaved people, to experiment and figure out what would work when it comes to healthcare. That started from day one and it continued going.
Wow.
And so when you have things that continuously happen generation after generation, the trauma becomes a biological thing. So the trauma that your great-great-great-grandmother may have experienced on the plantation is embedded in you now because your great-great-grandmother passed down certain ways of life to your great-grandmother and so on and so on. So if someone from your family was on the plantation and they had an experiment done on them that was medically done, caused harm, maybe lost a limb or something like that, that's going to keep going. So they're going to say, oh, don't go to the doctor, you might not come back with an arm, things like that. They say that. I mean, that's just how we joke, right? But it's serious. It really happens. I think the most prominent story we have right now, and I don't know, I'm taking y'all back to biology. Do y'all remember the Heliogene that they taught us in biology?
I'm certain I remember a little bit.
Okay, so now there's just a movie that came out about it, and I think Oprah and someone else did it. So the Heliogene was actually a cell, and I hope I tell it right, but it was a cell that they found in a body that grew outside of the body. So they used it to create immunizations, the flu vaccine, things like that. The gene came from a Black woman, which was hidden until recently. So, and it came from a Black woman's pelvic area. If I can remember correctly.
Well, okay.
So, of course, white America couldn't tell white America that they was using a Black woman's cells to put in your body to make you feel better and keep you alive from many of vaccines. I mean, many of diseases, right? And this is just what's been happening. I mean, right, and I'm not, maybe I shouldn't say that, but it's just been happening.
No, say it. Here is where you can say it.
No, that's not what I was about to say.
All right.
So there's a statue downtown. I'll say it like this. There's a statue downtown of a man who used to perform experiments on black women to help with like cervical cancer, how to perform hysterectomies, things like that. And they didn't use any kind of medication, any kind of anesthesia.
Right.
Bottom line, in our community, we have been scared to go to the doctor because sometimes we don't come back out. They don't listen to us. Okay. Right. They say that we can handle pain. And if you have a doctor who's racist, more than likely you probably won't get any care at all. Right. So we're really trying to change that.
Right. And I think it takes us stepping into the realm of doctors and therapists and serving ourselves and getting that education, because that's what we need.
We do. We need more people that look like us.
Right.
My clients already know they can bring in their medical records and I will help them as best as I can. I know there's some legal boundaries around that, but a part of my degree is rehabilitation counseling. So there are some things that I do know medically that I can, help them with. Or if they don't understand the word, we can look it up together, that type thing. I believe in integrative care. So if they give me a release and they give their doctor a release, I will call the doctor and I will work with other healthcare professionals that they are seeing within the community. So that's how I'm trying to help that right there. And also letting them know, like, if you can't speak with your doctor while you're in that room, then it may not be a good fit.
Right. What have you been experiencing people coming in because they're losing their mind about COVID-19?
Absolutely. Did y'all hear that? Absolutely. Yes. Depression and anxiety.
Let's talk through that real quick, because I kind of expected that, but you were like, "Oh my goodness, absolutely."
Okay.
So what's going on? What are they saying? I mean, what are we saying to you?
So there's a lot of divorce. Yeah, there's a lot of separation.
Not over COVID. Yeah, come on.
Well, I'm just putting it like this: COVID is shining a lot of light on a lot of things. I'm gonna put it like that.
Okay.
People are just home. You're home. You're home with your spouse. This is the most we've ever spent with our kids and our loved ones. And you're just realizing if you can really live with people or not. So,
that's a good way to put it. Mm-hmm. I think I think that this is probably good in some ways and bad in others, but what are you advising? Or like what what service are you, like, how are you helping people with this stuff? Like I just gotta hear it.
Sometimes there's just no help. I'm not gonna sit here and say that every story is a success story. That's not reality. But to those who are willing, we do a lot of communication skills. We do a lot of understanding people's backgrounds, how they grew up, traditions, society roles. We really do a lot of getting to know your partner all over again.
Yeah.
That seems to be helping those that do help, or also sometimes they realize that they're not meant to be together and they should separate, and maybe that's good for them.
I mean, are you seeing short marriages, long-term marriages, or like, are you seeing various things? Various things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I can only imagine like somebody who's been married for 10, 15 years and COVID hits and now they're actually spending time with each other.
Yeah.
And end up, not together or not being able to be helped.
Right.
That's got to be a lot. That's got to be a lot.
So much.
So my partner came on the platform. His name is Jamil Middleton. Mm-hmm. And he told me the toughest thing about being a therapist and working in therapy is keeping your own life together.
Mm. Okay.
Talk to me about it. Is that, would you agree with that, with what he said with that? He was like, I'm over here helping people and doing all these things, and I'm struggling to keep my own life and family together.
Yeah, I think that that's reality too. Is, you know, we will see that all the time. Like if I talk to my homegirls about something, they'll be like, "You a whole therapist?" I'm like, "I'm a whole human first. Like I'm a whole human. We have our different issues. Yeah, there's things that I struggle with, but I think that's where we could provide a certain level of empathy and sympathy in the mental health profession too, knowing that we're not perfect. We don't have ourselves together. We struggle too, just like everybody else. And therapists should see a therapist. There's just no way you should hold all of that in or not practice what you preach without seeing someone else. And that just makes you a better therapist.
Got you. Do you have, they always say you have to have mentors and people to pull you up. And I'm sure that you're mentoring people and people are mentoring you.
Uh-huh.
Is that how that works in your profession?
Yeah, it should. I do think it should be better. And that's another part of my service too, is making sure that I'm there to mentor people and developing them as mental health professionals. So yeah, so my mentor is not a mental health professional.
See, okay, I got you. Because that's really, you're helping me, right? Because the accountability piece of that, just having somebody in your life that you can pull on, that's not your mother, that's not your friend or your auntie, but then also having that in your professional life as well. And I think there's a balance that's required with that. But Nita, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Coming and sharing all your wealth of knowledge. Yes. Anything that what you want us to do? Tell what you want to tell us. What we need to do right now?
Get a therapist.
Get
Put your mental health first. That's all I mean.
Get it. Y'all so expensive though, Nita. It's so high, my Lord.
But there's ways around it. There's things. There's sliding scale fees. There's insurance. There is. Yes, it is expensive, but there's ways around it.
Y'all so high.
That's true.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming through, Nita.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Salute.